record this to my. Here comes CJ. A lot of familiar faces in here, but the familiar faces passed the test. So thank you. I'm glad for that. Yes. So I'll probably kind of teach this from the mindset of someone that's preparing to take the advanced class. I haven't really planned out any of these problems beforehand. I did this like a week and a half ago for the class and honestly really enjoyed it and forgot to record. Well, it kicked me off when I used my iPad. So I am trying to kind of do this to help the class out and honestly just have a good video on Slab-Off because I feel like that's a major part of that test and it's something that is kind of easy, but a lot of people do tend to get stuck on. So I am going to pull up the whiteboard on my tablet. And if y'all hear an echo, I'm so sorry. I'm doing everything in my power to keep the volume off on this iPad. All right, and Marceline, I don't think I've got like how much do you know? How familiar are you with Prism and Slab Off and all the fun stuff?
I'm okay. I don't see enough of it to maybe see maybe three slab offs in my 20 years.
So it's not something you're running. It's something like when you get to the advanced test, it's something that's all over that. But yeah, it's something that's rarely used. But whenever I do this, I like to start with oblique meridians because you always have to figure out what the power is in the 90. So again, I'm going to teach this as y'all are probably familiar, most of y'all are familiar with, as if it's the AC test that y'all are preparing for. So they always kind of take two components and put them together. So for slab off, they would always give you an axis at the 45 or the 180. You'd have to determine what it is at the 90, and then you solve to do the slab off problem. So I start with oblique meridians. And we'll kind of play with a couple things here to kind of figure that out. If anybody, and I do kind of insist, some calculating along, your smartphone does have the scientific option on it. If it's the iPhone, you click the calculator icon. If it's not the iPhone, anybody else feel free to explain how, because I have no idea. And now I got to find mine because I just reorganized everything. Okay. So doing oblique meridians, that's basically that's solving for what the power is in the 90th meridian. And so the formula will kind of seem like common sense when it's broken down, at least it does to me. So what you do is now my pen doesn't work. Yay, come on, let's try this again. Oh, it's the eraser. All right, so it is sphere plus cylinder times sine the angle difference from the given meridian and the 90 squared. So, for example, let's say we're looking at, and we'll kind of start easy because, like most of y'all that have taken the test know, most people still operate in that, like, what is it, 30, 45, 60 range where you can just see if it's like a quarter or 75%. But we'll also have like one or two to get a little deeper into it. But like, given this prescription right here, we all probably already know what the answer is on that and what the power is in the 90 just by looking at it. But if we follow with the formula that's given, we'll take the 2 plus the cylinder 1 times sine, and the difference between the 90th meridian and the 45th axis is 45. So we would do sine 45 squared, which then breaks down to, come on, sine 45. And I'm in radians. That's another thing. If you are calculating along and your calculator is in radians instead of degrees, you will get the way wrong answer and embarrass yourself in front of everybody for 5 minutes trying to figure it out. Or at least that's what I did. So sine 45. I do not know why my calculator is not doing what I would like it to do right now. Sorry, bear with me just a second. I had everything working before I started this. All right, so sine 45 squared. Let's see. I am not getting the right number on my calculator for some reason. So you can just use the chart. That is something you can do. I always go with the oblique meridians to at least give you like a double check. It's always kind of a good way to lean back on what you need. But since I can't seem to get this to function today properly, let me try one more time. I think I just figured it out. No, so what we would do is what that would end up being is basically it would be the power of it'd be -3 in the 90th meridian if we use that estimation. And I am so sorry that this is not working out for how to use this for oblique meridians. It can like is did somebody familiar with this? Can y'all do the formula and see what y'all are getting for the sine 45 squared?
0.70.
0.70. So that's what I'm getting too.
The answer is not -3 though, so maybe that's where you're coming up with
Yeah, the answer should be minus
250.
That's what I meant. Okay, -250. I knew I did something very wrong there. All right, well, thank you. So everybody pretty much knows what we're doing with that. So we're gonna skim past this and go to Slab-Off. I'm so sorry. It's been a long one. So let's start. So we'll just go based off the chart. If you are taking the advanced test, you may have one question that requires you to know that, maybe two. It's something that you can easily just use the chart, the 30, the 45, 60. Gosh, I am so tired today.
The
30.
questions that I had on mine, just so you know, it was it was clear on which ones were what the power was. So it was like it was pretty much obvious. You were able to lock off two of them, and then it was pretty obvious which one was correct.
Okay, and it didn't give you, yeah, it didn't really give you an off axis. Like it gave you it on like one of the percentage points on that like sundial, right? Or did it actually give you one or two with a random axis?
Yeah, it was like you could kind of. It was like so for this, it would have been like a minus. You would have had a couple plus answers, and then you would have had like a minus 250, and then maybe a minus 175 or something. So you would get, it was kind of like obvious.
It made it obvious. Okay, we'll skip
And I
straight to
think I
that.
got Mike on mine. I think I had one that was off axis, but it was like at 87 or 59
Mine
or
was like a
something that was
51. Yeah.
Right.
something
And it
so
was
close to one of the
yeah,
numbers that you could use that formula, the
right.
30, 45, 60, 90 formula,
Yeah.
and get a close enough answer.
You could use your 30, 60, 90, your
Right.
30, 60, 90 axis chart.
And
It
Cool.
then
wasn't that you really had to like calculate and know the calculations.
correct.
So
Yeah,
to
I
exact.
only had the one, but even it was more of I can guesstimate. It was like a 51. I was like, all right, it's at 45, so
Right.
90
Yeah.
is half
Right.
of it. All
No.
right, so
So
we'll move straight to Slab-Off then. Thank y'all for your patience. I'm so sorry. I'm usually way better off than this. So starting with the Slab-Off, how do y'all feel about it? Like, do y'all remember Prism pretty well? Do y'all remember how Slab-Off works, or kind of got a decent idea? Okay. So then I'll probably count on y'all to help correct in case there's anything wrong. But you're really going to see this when it's an anisometropic patient, or there's a large difference between the two eyes for the prescription. So let's say, I'm not sure where that line came from. So let's say you're given a prescription -250. We'll keep it easy because I can't math right now. And then the other eye is, let's say it's just +5 -1. And we'll just put that at 180. So there's at least a little bit of math. So the first step that we want to do is obviously find the power in the 90. So 45 we know is 50% of the way to 90. So that'd be half the sill plus the sphere. So for the right eye, I didn't even notate that. Let's do that. So for the right eye, we're looking at -350 at the 90. And in the left eye, since we know that's exactly 90 degrees away from that is the 5 and the 1. So that would put us at -6. And yes, Ashley, you were correct. Okay, so now what we have to do is figure out how much vertical imbalance there is between the eyes. Now, this is just a simple prism formula. What you'll want to know, and you'll usually see this in questions, but the usual distance that someone looks down and moves their pupils down to see is going to be about 10 millimeters. So that's where you're going to see most of those kinds of questions. We'll do a couple that are off that a little bit, but mainly it's 10 millimeters. So let's say that the reading is 10 millimeters below, or the reading 10 millimeters below where this prescription is written. So what we do at that point is prism. So for the right eye, we take -350. And the way I always do it is I just always move the decimal point over 1. So that would be 1.0. So 350 times 1, just 350. And then for the left eye, -6. And then removing it in centimeters. So that's why I always move the decimal point over. A lot of people do it in millimeters, and that formula would look something like prism equals diopter times millimeters over 10. And the way I do it is a little more like this. So like I do the power times the number in centimeters, because that's how my brain works a little better. But say we're doing it the other way. So we take 6 and then we multiply that by 1. So 6 again. And I need to write better. I think somebody's trying to get in.
Mike, you want to cheat for when it's at 10?
Just
When
ignore the
you,
prism.
yeah, when the reading height is at 10, your 10 and 10 cancel each out. So power equal prism.
So see, I always go through it anyway, even though because it's just to get into the meat of it, but you're absolutely right, because it ends up being exactly what it is. It's just times 1. So that would end up now what we do is we determine how much difference there is in the prism. So we'll see here that it is about 2.5 diopters. And for prism or for slab-off prism, you always do base up and the most minus I. And so that would end up being -250 or 2.5 diopters base up on the most minus. So that final prescription would look something like, and I totally forgot to put the reading ad on here too. I am not on top of it. I'm so sorry. We'll do a couple better ones. And then this would be 2.5 base up if we were doing the slab off. And then OS would just be the same. So let's start with another one. Let's start fresh. Does somebody want to give me a prescription to work with? Maybe my brain will function better that way. And let me look at this comment. So can you cheat and subtract the difference and then multiply? What do you mean by that?
Can you subtract the difference of the powers at 90 before you multiply by the reading distance? Instead of doing each power individually and then subtracting.
Yeah, I mean, you can do that. Whatever way I do it all the steps whenever I'm showing people how to do it because a lot of people kind of see it differently. I kind of just look at it from like what Paige was saying. Like it's in the 90 if it's 10 millimeters, then just in my head, it's just the difference in the 90 and the power at the 90.
Ashley, that would work if we're dealing with 10,
But
but
if you're
let's say
not, it
the
would.
but let's say the reading height is at 8. It's not going to work the same because you're falling outside of please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, and you're trying to add and subtract before you multiply and divide.
Well, no, what I meant was for the difference between the right and the left eye's prescriptions. If you figure out your powers at 90, can you not subtract from the right and the left eye and figure out what the difference is
If it's
before
10,
you do the next step?
You've
so
already calculated the distance in order to find the power at 90. So you've done that before you're subtracting the two.
Okay.
and it would end up being a different answer. The numbers wouldn't work out the same way if I'm catching you right.
Okay.
Because you're talking about, yeah, just separating the difference in the powers. That would work if it's given at 10 millimeters, but if it's anything else, or if you do it before that step, then you'll end up with a different calculation.
That makes sense.
All right. Let's see. So let's try. Let's do -5 OD, and I'll write this a little more proper this time. -2 at, make this one easy. And we'll get into a little more fun ones too that can kind of throw you off, especially for a test. So the reading add is plus 250, and the person is reading. We'll do another 10 millimeter one, and then we'll go into a different one. And their reading zone is 10 millimeters below or 10 millimeters down in the lens. So again, we solve for 90. OD, we already know, is -5. OS, that would be a 50% of this cylinder. So that would be 150 plus 250, which would give us -4. And I know I don't have to write this out. I just do it just to have the procedural part done. So now we're solving for prism. So 5 times 1.0, since that'll be 1 centimeter, which equals 5. And same with the left lens, -4 times 1 is going to be 4. So the difference in prism, what do y'all think the slab off is for this? Someone that maybe hasn't passed the Rabio Advanced. And it's okay to throw out a wrong answer. I just totally bombed the first 15 minutes of this whole thing. So I got 1 diopter base up OD. That's correct. All right, so let's do it a little more. Let's add a little more difficulty to it. Does anybody have questions procedurally to how this is done? I'll take that as a no, but please raise your hands or speak up. Feel free to interrupt me if we end up getting too far into something. Marceline says kind of. All right, let's do another one, and I'll try to kind of. This is going to sound really ridiculous, but can someone throw a prescription out for me? Because every one that I come up with is confusing myself.
How about +5 -2 at 45?
You said +5 -2?
At 45. Yep.
Okay.
And a +1 -1/4
Oh.
at 90.
And we'll do a 250 add, and we'll do 10 millimeters below the rating. So say you're taking the test and you're actually looking at this question. This question is going to be written, given the following prescription, please calculate the amount of slab off required in this lens. And it'll tell you this prescription, it'll give you the reading ad, and it will tell you that the reading point is 10 millimeters under. And so it will give you all that information. For the longest time, every time it gave me the reading ad, it threw me off. You can completely ignore that. So let me just go ahead and throw that out there. That doesn't exist whenever you're actually having to solve for Slab-Off. So now we'll take the first step. And the very first step is, again, we want to solve for what the power is at the 90th meridian. So for the right eye, with the prescription +5 -2 at 45, what is the power at the 90? Does anybody want to throw it out there? There you go. And then for the left eye, so for the power at 90, we already know it's
Not
+1.
minus. Not minus.
No minus?
It's +4. +5 -2 is a
Oh,
+4.
I don't like this iPad the way it writes. Thank you. All right, and so the OS, that is going to be +1. So you're still looking at the power in the 90, and then you are kind of using just that number because that's the only number that's really important for this to work. So now we determine how much Slab-Off we need to add. Again, it's 10 millimeters, so it is easy, but procedurally, I'm still kind of going to go through the whole thing. So Prism formula, again, that I follow is power times centimeters. So what I would put here is for 10 millimeters, we know that's 1 centimeter. So in the right eye, we would take that +4 and then multiply that by 1.0, which gives us obviously just the +4. And then for the left eye, we do the same thing. +1, multiply by 1 centimeter, and then that gives us a +1. And so, do you have a guess what the Slab-Off would be for this one, Marceline, or do you want me to go through it? It does. It goes to the left. Now, is it base up, base down? I don't think I went into the general rule on that, so that might be.
That's as far as I got right now.
That's all right. So, that's something that's on me that I didn't realize. So this is practice for me too, y'all. So thank you so much for going through this with me. So the rule is always base up, most minus. Base up, yeah, right there, bum. Base up, most minus, what Ashley said. In fact, I would read a lot of what she says. She actually learned this in school, whereas I learned it in a group of people. So now let's do one that's going to be a little different. We're not going to go too crazy yet. So let's do a prescription. Let's say it's -4, -2. Let's still be kind of tame. We're going to do
Can you move
-4.
your screen over just a little bit to one way or the other because it's kind of, there you go. It was hidden behind the controls.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Can you read it now?
I can.
Okay, perfect. I'm still learning to use an iPad with Zoom, so bear with me, please. So let's do a cylinder of 3 here, and we're going to do that at the 45. So still saying pretty easy with this. Oh, sorry. Reading ad is +2. Now, the point of reading on this one is going to be 8 millimeters below. So does anybody want to tell me what the power is at the 90 in the right eye? It'd be -6. And so for the left eye solving for the 90, again, 45 is 50%. So you have 150 as the sill added to your -1, which gives us -250. So this is where it'll be a little different. So this will actually have to calculate the prism. So for the right eye, and again, using this formula, prism equals power times centimeters moved. We'll take the right eye, and it's going to be -6 times 0.8. And that's because it's 8 millimeters, but 0.8 centimeters. So now we actually have to pull out the calculator to math this one because I can't math. And that gives us 4.8. Is that right?
Does the minus make a difference?
Not for this, it doesn't. Yeah, that's what it's giving me. Okay, -4.8. And then for the left eye, we have at the 90 is going to be the 250. And we're going to multiply that times 0.8. And so the prism in the 90 for this will be 2.5 times 0.8, which would be 2. So does anybody want to tell me how much prism and in what eye that would be placed? I'm sorry? All right. So in that's going to be 2.8 diopters of so it's going to be 2.8 diopters, and it's going to be base up in the right eye. Most minus, least plus.
I think the important part is to remember when we get past the multiplying by 0.8 that we have to subtract the 4.8 and the 2 to get our answer. I think that's where some people might be getting.
So that's true most of the time.
Well, I wanted to guess that, but then I didn't know that Prism was in a 2.8. I thought it was only in 0.5 increments.
So for this, it's going to be a little different. You can order. Some labs will take it in increments like that, but some people around that, like that's 2.8, so they might do 275 base up.
Okay, yeah, so that makes a little more sense to me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, optical is one of those things where sometimes, rounding up or down is okay, sometimes it's not. Taking the test, they plan out their problems a lot easier where you won't get like 2.8 as an answer. And if you do, then the answers will be -1, -270, or 1, 275, 350. It'll be obvious which one it would be closest to. So let's do, what questions do we have so far so that I can make sure I'm focusing on the right parts for everybody?
No, I'm following along pretty better now, considering I came into this with like, I don't know, here's a formula.
That's why I try to avoid the formula part. So maybe I'll stop starting with the oblique meridians and I'll just go straight into the 25, why can I never remember the numbers to save my life? 30, 45, 60 rule instead. Because 99% of the time, even if that's not what your answer is, that's going to be close enough. Well, then that means I can count on y'all to help me figure out this one. Does somebody else want to give me a prescription? Because last time I did a random one, we're not quite there yet.
Mike, can you hear me if I talk?
Now I can hear you, yes.
Oh, sorry. This is CJ, by the way.
That's what I thought.
I'm
Hey.
driving.
Oh,
I'm driving, so I'm sort of like half listening. Sorry, because I was on my way home from work. But I was going to suggest maybe trying one that is plus in one eye and minus in the other with prescriptions. So maybe like a +3, -2
go ahead
at
and do that.
90, just to make it easy.
So that's actually, I have one that I'm going to save for the very end that's going to cover that, but it's good to go ahead and kind of
Okay.
cover that because this is where it can get a little bit fun. So we'll keep this fairly as tame as I think I can.
I was
Yeah.
just going to do the same thing.
You already see where this one might be
I
going.
was just writing one down when CJ was saying it. So I'm just trying to come up with one.
I did one last Monday and I didn't even realize it. And I learned something while doing it on how the actual prism differential there works. And I was slightly embarrassed that I never learned that, but I'm so glad I do now. So this one may get us there. So we'll play with that. And let's do 45. Let's do 90. All right, so power at the 90. For our right eye, 45 is 50%, so that would be minus 0.5 diopters, so that would give us a power of 250 in the 90. And then for the OS, we have -2, -50 at 90, so we already know -2 is what is at the 90. And because I see where this is going, let's do this at 10 millimeters, and then we'll play with another one at 8 to have some fun. So this will still keep this one somewhat easy with a twist. So now we solve for how much prism. So right eye is 250 times 1.0 centimeters, which gives us 250. OS, same thing, -2 times 1 is -2. All right, so this is where I ended up having some fun with this. On the right eye, what is that, or what's the prism? Is that prism base up, base down? Does anybody want to hazard a guess? Are you talking about for the final answer?
That's what I would have guessed.
So that's what I would have guessed too. But we have two opposite signs here. So you got a plus lens and a minus lens. So you have to take into consideration for this point that there's going to be the base up and base down part of that. So for the right eye, plus 250, that's our power at the 90. We move that 8 millimeters down, or I'm sorry, you look 8 millimeters down, which the way I always do it in my head is I move the lens. So that lens moves up, plus lens moves with the direction. So that is 250 base up in the right eye. The left eye, that would be that would be a base down. So that's -2 base down. So now who wants to take a guess as to what that slab off is going to be? It's okay if you don't want to guess, but I'll leave it quiet for 30 seconds just to see if anybody does. And this is the one I got wrong myself last week and was correct at all.
Whenever you decide what the answer is, I'm going to need you to go back and explain that
Okay.
again, please. Yep.
So I'll get into I'll go ahead and give you the answer and then I'll explain the whole thing kind of over again. So the answer for this, plus 250 minus 2, so that's a difference of 4.5 diopters. So that is a slab off of 4.5, and that's going to be base up still most minus least plus OS. So let's back up and let's see. Do you want to go over it again and have me explain it a little more in depth?
I just want to understand the up and the down.
Oh, like when you're solving in the 90, whether it's base up or base down?
Yeah, because that wasn't mentioned in the last three prescriptions you did.
So that's something I probably should have mentioned, but to learn it, I usually don't throw that in there because these are a little bit different. These are a lot rarer. So most of the time, if you're doing a minus lens and you are reading under that area and that the 90 is going to be a minus power, then that's going to end up being a base down. So if you're using a plus lens, that's always going to end up being a base up. So whenever it's base down, you just subtract the difference. And so it would be so if these were both minus, it would only be half a diopter of base up prism. But because it's plus and minus, that's why we have to take into consideration base up and base down, because it's a total movement of prism of 4.5 diopters. So that's the only time that the base up, base down really is needed on these kinds of problems. But and I'll do a couple more problems and we'll focus on, base up, base down, and that way we can kind of keep track of it to help. Anything else that you want me to kind of go into a little detail on?
I'm sorry, the 450. Where did you get the 450, or did you how is that converted?
So I got the 450 because the OD is at a plus 250. The OS is at a minus 2.
Oh, so if you were literally looking at it through a lensometer.
Exactly.
Yep,
Looking at it.
I see it. Yep.
You got it. Yeah. That's how
Yes,
it
thank
worked for
you.
me. It just clicked when I figured it out. So that was the one that I did last week where I said the answer was half a diopter and I was corrected. And then I actually realized it. And so these are fun. These are where it gets a little more complex and you get to have some fun. So let me do another. Let's see. Let's do minus 650 minus 1 at 90. I'm going to do one more easy one, and then I'm going to trick it up a little bit. All right, so the reading ad is going to be 175 on this, and it's going to be 0.8 millimeters down for the reading. Sorry, I'm trying to, there we go. So
Did you mean
for this,
8?
but it'll be, 0.8 millimeters. Sorry, you're right. I see what I did. So 8 millimeters down. So OD, looking at the 90, that's going to be 650. OS, that is going to be minus 3. And then since we are having to solve for the prism in the 90, we know what our powers are in the 90. So again, using this formula, we would do for the right eye, come on, minus 650 times 0.8, which gives us 520. And then for the left eye, minus 3 times 0.8, 2.4. So what is the total amount of slab off that we're doing for this lens?
$2.8 base up in the OD.
So 2.8 base up in OD. That is not what I'm getting. Did I do math wrong? I'm getting 7.6.
You did math wrong.
I mathed wrong. Yes, let's see.
Oh, did I get one?
You did.
2.8, you got it, yeah.
Woo!
I'm still stuck in the plus minus world. That's where I get mixed up. So you got it. All right, now we're gonna do what they like to do on the test, which is they lure you in, make you feel comfortable, and then they give you a plus cylinder. You will see a lot of this if you take the advanced test. And it's going to feel like a shock to the system. So if that's kind of your goal when you get into this, then definitely play with plus cylinder, do a lot of transposing, whatever makes you most comfortable with it.
You would just transpose the OD and then go on about your day, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Just transpose and keep in mind kind of where, what the power is, because the answers, you just want to keep track. So make sure that you'll probably have to do the answer in plus cylinder back, which again, just transpose back. But that's the best way to do it. And like I've gotten to the point where I can look at it and somewhat memorize kind of what's going on. So I kind of know. So like I would take the +2, I know it's half of that, +1, add that to -5, which gives us a power of -4 in the 90 for the right. And then the OS, I know that 180 means that it's the sphere and cylinder combined. And so that's going to give us a +150. So this is another one of those fun ones. And so for the right eye, base down. For the left eye, it's base up. And if we're looking 8 millimeters below, and if y'all want to go ahead and solve and give me y'all's answer for what the total slab off is, go for it. And I'll be writing it out while y'all solve it too.
Paige, when you get a B, I would like you to explain that last comment for me, please.
Yep. Notice how he did -5 + 1 gives us -4. He didn't do any transposition there. He just took half of the cylinder and combined it with the sphere power.
It's whatever makes you most comfortable, but when you're taking a time test, as most of us on this call know, time is of the essence. And if you can look at that number, which more than likely you can, you see, oh, +2 still at 45. Well, that's +1. And then add that to the sphere, and you have your -4.
Yeah, that actually seems easier, so I'm going to go with that.
It's so much easier if your brain will work, but everybody's brain works differently, so I try to hit it from all angles.
No, that's fair.
But that's the way I do it. Like I look at it and I can see, oh yeah, that left eye at 180. I just add the sphere and cylinder. And just a lot of practice gets you there too. So for the OS, so we're gonna do this times. And I'm still gonna let y'all answer this. I'm just trying to solve it very slowly. And remember, you got a minus for the left eye and a plus for the right. All right. Anybody got a guess? I'm giving you the answers right now, but
All right, I have a guess, and it might be wrong, and I don't care if it's wrong. Be fine.
That's what we're here for.
Right. 4.4 base up OD.
You got it. You got it right. Great job.
Yes.
There we go. That's great. I love that moment where it's like comprehension to got it. It's like my favorite thing in the world to witness. All right. So y'all want to do another couple of them? Especially now that we got Marceline on a roll.
Yeah, I want to see some other people guess too.
So would I. So for this one, I'm gonna go get a pen and paper because I want y'all to kind of solve it yourselves and then give it a couple minutes and then we can all kind of raise our hands when we have the answer and then take a guess or the first person available can guess. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Awesome. I was about to say I take your any silence as compliance in that too, so I'll just literally sit here for 10 minutes in silence. All right. So for the right eye, you're given a prescription of, let's say it's minus 550. Let's do plus 150 at 45. And then minus. All right, I threw enough curveballs at you. So for this one, the prescription is minus 550 in the right eye, minus 550 plus 150 at 45. In the left eye, minus 1 plus 2 at 135. The reading ad for this prescription is a plus 2, and they are looking at 10 millimeters below the lens so that they can read. So I'll leave this problem up here for a minute. I'm going to go solve it on paper so that I can have the answer and not show it to y'all. And then whoever's feeling brave can jump in. And I'll give everybody a minute. I promise I did a lot better at this last week, and I'm so sorry. So thank you all. Anybody that knows me knows this happens to me all the time. I've got a guess, but I'm not giving my answer till somebody else does. At least two other people. Ditto. You're the only person that uses that word still, I think. Yeah, Karen, thank you. Not, not that we don't love you. I'm glad to see you again. I actually wanted to chat with both you and CJ sometime in the next week or two about some stuff if y'all are up for it. Awesome. Y'all were always some of the most partic par- I can't make that a verb. Y'all always participated the most and did such a great job that I have a couple ideas I wanted to run by y'all, especially now that I'm starting to write CEs, and this was going to be kind of a practice for an outline, but I totally threw the outline out within the first 5 minutes. So
I am so jealous because I want to write CECs and I'm like afraid.
So that was me for Paige. How many times did I ask you to help me? I asked Sierra, I asked everybody to help. And then finally, I just sat down and I wrote one, tore it up, did it
Can
again.
I just say, Marceline, remember 135 minus 90. Yeah, Paige did it. Sorry, I just saw that.
But yeah, once I got past that fear, I've got 4 outlines now. I need to touch up a couple, which I owe you one page. That'll be the one I work on tonight. And I know. But it's just like the ideas are flooding. Even this started as I taught it last Monday, and then I've been trying to write a Prism class, and I was like, well, I want a tech level two. Maybe I could teach Slab-Off. And then I didn't record last week's class, so honestly, I'm kind of just testing the grounds to see how this might do.
Well, I mean, I'm just like, how am I ever going to get to master? There's no way that no way that I'm going to get up in front of people and talk. No way I'm doing it.
You don't
So,
have to. You can write it and publish it.
Yeah.
well, that's like, but I'm sitting here like, I don't even know how I'm going to do that.
So one thing that I'm kind of changing a lot about the group coming up. I'm gonna do probably go down the one free study group a year, and I'm gonna
Mhm.
have somewhat of like not an application process, but something that kind of holds people a little more accountable so that each class doesn't lose 50% of its members in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure they're in it, but I want to turn it into, yeah, we're going for the events, but you and like everybody else, we were doing this so that we can get our masters. And to do that, we got to at least write classes. And so I really want to transfer it and that's one thing I wanted to talk to you and CJ about is actually working together and helping us all to write CEs and help each other out and just have like a group of us that we can kind of go back and forth with.
Yeah. Okay.
Because that helped me a lot. And I'll send you my outline.
Okay. Be honest with you, the whole Discord thing, I don't get it. I mean,
I
it's
don't
not,
either.
I don't get it. I really don't. I'm like on it and I'm like, I don't understand.
It's
So,
it's a complicated chat room.
yeah, I don't get it. And I'm like, so that's
Are you good with group messenger on Facebook?
I can do Messenger. Yeah.
I mean, if you want, just send me, we can just do like a group text or something. That could be
Yeah.
even easier.
You can
Yeah.
text. I mean, I can do any, I didn't, the concept, I guess, of Discord just doesn't connect here.
And it like goes old school to IRC chat rooms. And if Harry was here, he would laugh at that. Nobody else probably knows what that is.
Yeah, I don't
We'll
know
get
what
back
that
to
is.
this in a minute, but it looks like we've got some answers rolling in. The page is already taken care of. So you got 435. Okay, you got 475. And 475 base up OD. That's it. As long as I'm correct, too. Yeah. 475 base up OD. How's it feel?
Pretty damn spectacular.
It's always so these are such scary topics to people, but when you really work through a few of them, it becomes so, in my mind, it's very simplistic. You just got to find, you got to make it simple for you. And that's always been my trick. What makes it easier and what makes it less steps for me to be able to do it. Do
We
you want to
really
do one
love
more?
math too, and I think that helps.
I'm sorry.
I said I really love math. I think that helps.
Yeah, you got to kind of love math to be able to get into this. You've got mail. Remember that movie?
Best rom-com ever.
I gotta watch it. Maybe I'll watch it tonight. All I get is Disney Plus. They don't let me hook up my HDMI in some of these hotels anymore.
Rude.
Absolutely. So, you want to do one more, Marceline and Ashley and everybody? Karen, let's do at least one more. All right. Paige, do you want to throw out the prescription for this one so that I have to solve it too? I don't know if you're muted or trying to talk to yourself.
Both, and I'm putting it in chat.
Okay.
+6 minus 250 at 45. Plus 150 minus 1 at 180. At 10 millimeters. Because I think really on the test I only had one that was at 8. All the rest of
Yeah.
them were at 10.
I think I only had one that was at 8. I wish I could like hide the whiteboard so I could just scroll it up and show my work instead of doing it on a piece of paper.
Quit sharing your screen.
Doesn't it get, I don't have access to the whiteboard when I do that, do I?
Oh,
Because this is just using the whiteboard on Zoom, and this kind of takes that whole thing up.
Okay, I think I have it.
All right, let's hear what you think.
4.25 base down OS. No. Yes. No. Yes.
Not for this one. So this is, what are you getting for the 90 in the right eye?
475
And what do you have at the 90 in the left eye?
plus 0.5.
Okay. So they're both the same power. And so since they're both the same power, you just total them up. Or
Oh, I subtracted instead of added.
yeah. So basically you're taking all the prism and throwing it into one little bin.
So 5.25 base down OS.
5.25 base.
Is it up? But it's not minus.
It's always up for Slab-Off.
For like signs.
Yeah. So whenever you're adding Slab-Off to it, you're always cutting base up prism into the lens.
So there is a
Yes,
thing
but
called
you're not.
reverse Slab-Off, but unless
Yes.
it asks for that specifically, you're looking at which prescription has the most amount of minus or is the least plus, if that makes sense.
Bum. I've never seen that acronym before today. I love that. It's perfect.
You can thank Lori Pierce for that one.
Lori Pierce? Okay.
Yes.
I'm surprised you don't remember that from CJ.
I didn't do his
CJ Collins.
ABO class. I just did his in CLE pre-recorded.
Got it.
Yeah. All
One of
right.
the other CJs. We've got a couple of them.
Oh, I was about to say, yeah, CJ Collins, right?
Yes.
I still owe him a phone call from a year ago. All right.
I mean, okay, so hold on a second.
Yeah.
Let's go back. On the right eye,
Let's
we
solve.
should have 5.25.
Yeah, 5.25 base up on the right eye. or left eye.
And on the left eye, we should have 0.5. Right? What did
Hold
we
on.
say the final answer was?
I got 5 1/4 base up.
Overall or on the right eye?
Or no, I'm sorry. I got,
Should be 5 1/4 base up OS.
yeah, that's what I'm getting.
It should be 475. You should subtract the two
Oh, minusing. Yes. Okay.
because
475
it's the difference between the two when the powers are the same.
or 425. Yeah.
Okay, then it should be 425.
There you
425.
go.
I don't know why I got that so mixed up on that.
Okay, so I was half right the first time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you were.
Well,
Sorry,
yeah.
that's my fault.
That's
So
okay.
I
I'm
mean-
cool with being half right.
I'm switching my brain over from plus and minus to all plus again. So, and that is a prime example of how plus power, when you're taking a test, will throw you off entirely because we're so not used to dealing with that kind of stuff that for me, my brain doesn't function for a minute. So we can work, well, we already kind of went over it real quick. So plus 5 1/4. Hold on. Oh, I see what you did there. Okay.
So just one more slight clarification.
Sure.
It's always going to be base up, even if when we were doing stuff earlier, we had to think about it because with the split powers, it was like up and down. So the end result's always going to be base up.
Correct.
Okay.
So Marceline, think
No,
about they
the
are
right eye is plus 475.
That's what I got whenever I was doing the
Okay.
math. Plus 475,
Not 5
Plus-
1/4.
50, and then a total prism or slab off of 425.
Right? Yeah.
but you still have to subtract them.
Right. So
Yeah.
it should be right.
Plus
So it should be
475 minus
25 base up OS. Right.
yeah. I'm trying to see what OD plus 475, OS plus 50. Yeah.
Subtract the 475 and the 0.5. You don't need to worry about the plus in this one. So you would get the 4.25.
Yeah.
So it's 4 1/4 base up. Oh yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, 4.25.
Did we get that one down? Do you want me to work through it on the screen so you can see all the steps, or you want to try a different one?
Do one more similar if you don't care.
Oh, I don't care. I got all night. I'm in a hotel. All I gotta do is do database work. So yeah. This is party time for me. All right, let's try to word it like they do on the test. I can't remember that far back. So given the following prescription, in the right eye, you have, here's what I'm gonna do. -2. We're gonna do a high sil prescription. So right eye is -2 plus 4 at 135. This is going to be -5 plus 250 at 90. So we're doing a reading add of 250, and given that they're going to be looking 10 millimeters down into the lens to read, and now my pen doesn't work, calculate the total amount of slab off required. And fun fact, a synonym for synonym, I guess, works for slab off. It's also called bicentric grinding. And you may see it in a question talking about with bicentric grinding, tell us the amount. At least I had something weird like that.
Mike, can you clarify what the prescription is in the right eye?
Yeah, right eye is
What, a
minus
4 or a
2.
9?
What's that?
A 4 or a 9?
It's a 4.
Okay.
My
It's kind of
handwriting.
hidden. It was hidden behind a few things when you were saying it.
I'm so sorry here. I'm writing on a tablet using my other Zoom login, and I'm using my computer to do this, so I can't, it looks different on each screen. Can y'all see the full prescription in view?
If you stop right there. She says no. Come down and in.
Actually, let's try this.
Perfect. Yep.
That's good? Oh, I haven't even done the math yet. That's it.
You made that easier than you thought.
Yeah, I really thought that I was going crazy on that. And I totally made that easy. But hey, it shows proof of concept. Y'all got it. It works. How does it feel?
It's nice. I wish I used it more just so I could be like, yeah, I know how to do that.
So I really, and I'm just terrible about this because my schedule, but I really want to start posting. I want to start doing things and setting things up where all of us opticians that crave that knowledge and want to learn more can continue doing that and keeping that knowledge and trying to either helping others or maybe we all just get in a group and just really nerd out and do stupid math. Whatever it is, I want to find a way to keep everybody engaged. Christy got 5 also. Awesome.
One thing that's important with Slab-Off is that it's not usually required by doctors until it is a certain amount of difference between the two. So my doctor tends to write it when it's like 2 or 250 difference, but I think the textbook is like between 150 and 2 difference.
150, I think, is the
It's
official.
150
Mm-hmm.
prism or 3 diopters.
Okay. My doctor has learned to just write it on there, or else other people will say, "Oh, they don't need it." So, um, we always, give them the option that they can do a pair with Slab-Off, or they can do one for distance and one for reading and exchange, so that they're not having that issue. Because we don't have executive bifocals anymore.
That's right. They've gone bye-bye.
They have.
See, I've seen it where the doctor will write it out in the prescription that slab off is required. And I've seen an instance where the optician determined how much slab off and did that. So it's been kind of a mix in my, again, that's in all of my
I
history in optical twice.
I have found some that have been brought in to me from other places that need them, and then I get argued with about whether it's actually needed by other opticians in the practice. So I guess I'm supposed to call the doctor's office to verify, even though it's technically something the optician is responsible for um, doing.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, that I get that. We have Christy in the message, so that was 3 diopters of difference when the slab off is suggested. So 3 for is it 3 for slab off? I kind of I put so much focus on that it's in mesometropic patients that I keep in my brain the 150 difference. What is do we know the minimum to do slab off or like where it's a good idea? Or I kind of feel like it's dealer's choice almost.
It is where the patient sees double vision. Let's think about why we really do slab off. It's to prevent double vision.
Yeah.
So if a patient is experiencing double vision with 1 diopter of power between the 2 eyes, then they need slab off. But if the patient isn't experiencing double vision at 5 diopters between the 2 prescriptions, they don't necessarily need it. It's where's the patient experiencing double vision is where you need to put the slab off in.
Yeah. So they could have a crazy different prescription in each eye, and I've filled plenty of those prescriptions and they never have an issue. But
We don't
all
just put
right.
lines in our glasses for fun. We do it to prevent double vision.
Well,
The
that at
end
least
is-
takes the pressure off of us having to figure it out. If they have a
Yeah,
complaint, be like, oh, I got a thing for that. Here you go.
exactly.
Yeah. That about to say the only time you're going to actually use this is when you sit down for your ABO advanced. Other than that, it probably won't come up again.
But a great practice is to take every prescription that crosses your desk tomorrow and figure it out. They don't have to have an ad power. Just do it on your single vision prescriptions
Yeah.
and just do it for the fun of doing it for the fun.
So I
That's
did
actually a
that,
really good
and
idea.
when I was teaching or learning Prism, I made myself measure if I saw glasses that came in with any decentration on it that didn't match or the OC wasn't measured. I just calculated the Prism for each one of those issues so that until I got it memorized. Did you want to do another one before we go?
I think I'm feeling pretty solid. I don't know about everybody else.
My computer is actually about to die, so I need to go plug in.
But I'll hang out.
Y'all have
Oh,
fun.
thank you, Paige, so much for saving me yet again on a on a nice class like this.
You
Yeah,
did
Paige,
great.
thank you for your tips and your help.
No worries. That's what we're here for. My battery is running low. I just got the official message.
All
I'm
right.
gonna.
I'll
I'm
stay
sorry,
on here
everybody.
for a minute, and if y'all want to keep going or anybody does want to do one or two more, I'm totally happy to do this. I want to try to post some practice questions. I found some in my old phone notes that I'll try to post to the group and see how that helps. But if we need to go through another one, please, I'm happy to do that. And if not, then as Ashley's saying, I think anybody on this call would be more than happy to help anybody that has an issue. So we're feeling pretty good for the evening. I'll take that as a yes. Feeling good? Awesome. Well, please reach out if you have more questions. I will try yet again to make a better version of this where I'm actually more on top of my game and teaching it. And that way it's be a little more straightforward. But this is also one of those things, and hold on a second. Let me go ahead and